Lion Anand Mehta, also as known as past multiple district president of us Leos of Western India, is enthusiasm personified. He's also a Pandora's box of ideas. His experience in corporate training has helped Lions worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts because this ride is going to be very energetic, very enthusiastic, and for sure bumpy.
Hello and welcome to the exciting session of Six Thinking Heads, a tool for decision making. In our life, we make so many decisions, whether on a personal life, professional life, in the society, even for Lionism. Today, all of us are going to learn a very powerful tool which will help us make right decision, but most importantly, it will help us to understand the process which will lead us towards making our right decision. But before we begin, I would like to ask you a simple question. And the question is, are you ready? I would be very happy if all of us say yes. Yes, I am ready. This session is full of fun, excitement, and new ideas. So your strong yes will make a big difference in taking this session to a great level. So let's begin with a small puzzle. I call this puzzle mania. So please open up your notebook or notepad and draw the diagram what you are seeing in on your screen. Draw a square and 9 dots. I'm going to pause here for half a minute, and all of you, please draw this diagram so that we can do the puzzle together. I'm waiting so that you can draw this. Thank you very much for drawing this on your piece of paper. Now, the puzzle is that you are expected to draw 4 straight lines that connect all the 9 dots. So, with the help of 4 straight lines, you are expected to join all the 9 dots. And there are rules. Rule number one, do not retrace while attempting to connect the dots. So, you cannot rewrite, you cannot again go back to those lines what you've already drawn. You can't retrace, can't rewrite. And rule number two, do not lift your pen from the paper. So when you're drawing it, you can't lift your pen and again go back. You can lift your pencil. You can lift your any writing instruments. So when you're drawing, it has to be one, two, three, whichever way you want. I'm going to hold here for 30 seconds. And why don't you try this right now? 4 lines connecting all the 9 dots. If you are able to solve this, brilliant, bingo. If you are not able to, don't worry. This is just the beginning of the session. I'm going to give you the right answer in the due course of this session. Let us straight away continue with our presentation and the module ahead. Don't forget this puzzle. We are going to come back to this puzzle very soon. The session objective of this session is going to be what is creative decision making, debunking myths associated with creativity, and Edward de Bono's ideology of the 6 thinking heads, which will give us fair idea about how can we make decision in the most appropriate way. So first question I would like to ask to each one of you is what is creative decision making? Think about it. And I'm also very soon going to give you my version of the answer. You don't need to write anywhere, just think about it. That what do you think, according to you, is creative decision making? We take decisions, so many decisions in our life. In fact, every day in and day out. But how can we make those decision making process more creative, more appropriate, which will enable us to take the right and appropriate decision? So, according to me, the creative decision making is finding fresh perspectives and coming up with innovative solutions so that you can formulate a plan to overcome obstacles and reach your goals. Let me emphasize on a couple of words which are very important here. Number one, fresh perspective. It's very important that we look at things with freshness. with new things, with new perspectives, and come up with innovative solutions. Primarily reaching out to achieving those goals, reaching out to goals, obstacles, and while removing those obstacles. The other way by which we look at creative decision making. Having understood that creativity is the process of generating useful ideas or solutions. So when we start thinking blue sky, when we start thinking in a absolutely random directions and keep gathering ideas, thoughts, solutions, that's primarily creativity. But having understood the creativity, what is innovation? Innovation is about executing the ideas or solutions, converting it into a success. So only creativity is not important. What is even more important that we pick up the best idea, we pick up the best solution and put that into practically executable thing, which is innovation. And here I want to share some amazing creative innovations which all of us have seen. iPhone is a great innovation. It's a great creative innovation. How? There were three different devices: a device to listen to music, a device to use internet, and a telephone. All these three things combined together in iPhone is a great example of creativity. And yes, our Indian Mars mission, now that is an epitome of creativity leading to amazing innovation, which led us reach or make this Mars mission a great success. Having understood this, let's debunk this myth of creativity. A lot of people feel that, hey, creativity is not something only artists or musicians can do. A lot of people feel that, hey, I can't sing a good sway, or I'm not able to play any musical instrument, I can't do a good painting, or I'm not good at drawing, my handwriting is not very good. That means I'm not creative. Now, that's a myth. Being artistic and creative are two different things. And believe me, you, me, every one of us are creative. What is required is to believe that yes, I can be creative and I want to increase my creativity quotient, leading towards me able to take a much better decision. So, here, let me introduce you to Edward de Bono's ideology of six thinking hat. Primarily, think about six magicians wearing different hats, roaming around and getting into discussion, and each hat representing one kind of thought, one kind of ideology, one kind of thinking process. And then here, this six gentlemen can be termed as Mr. Green, Mr. White, Mr. Red, Mr. Black, Mr. Yellow, and Mr. Blue. Mr. Blue can also be considered as a leader or a moderator or someone who's anchoring all of these all together. Before I get into detail of this, let's understand one thing in a very, very basic way. Six thinking hat is primarily each hat is being assigned one particular type of objective. So here, as you see, white is objective driven or facts driven. Red is intuitive. Black is risk. Yellow is opportunity. Green is creative, and yellow is holistic. So how can we use the best of all these? Now, before we get into understanding each hat individually, let's understand the benefits of the six thinking hats, advantages of six thinking hats. Number one, maximizing collaboration helps us to collaborate across a team in the best possible way, considering problems and decisions systematically. So many times you are so much jumbled up in our mind, it allows us to declutter things and look at things in a much more systematic way, using parallel thinking, where we are able to think on a different channels one by one, which is kind of parallel thinking, making meetings more productive, which allows us to reduce the consumption of time into useless things which happens in the meeting and make each meeting more effective and productive, going beyond the obvious to discover alternate solutions. It allows us to think out of the box. It allows us to have more creativity coming in a very systematic way, and viewing problems from new angles and making thorough evaluations. So it allows us to look at things with a new perspective, new angles, and also allows us to evaluate things in a very, very deep way. Having understood this, now we are going to learn about each hat, what kind of objective each hat comes with. And once we understand each of the hat's objective, each of the hat's behavior, we are going to then work with those hats. So if you remember, or if you visualize six people coming together and each one of them wearing different color hat, and the hat or the cap what they are wearing, they start thinking based on the objective assigned to that particular hat, and with the same problem, with the same concept, or looking toward the same solution, they all start thinking in a different way. Let me give you the first, which is the white cap. And here, let me wear a white cap to have a feel that, yeah, we are going to now think like a white thinking hat. The person who is wearing a white thinking hat focuses on the facts and data. Primarily, this person is looking at numbers from the past, okay, and also maybe from the market analysis, marketing research, understands what you can learn from past trends. So whatever has happened in the past, how many members have we dropped? How many fees we have been collecting from so many years? What kind of projects we have done? Now, all these past data they collect, which will help us to take an appropriate decision. Fills accounts for knowledge gaps. It's very important. If you are planning to do a new project, it's very important to understand, have we done this kind of project before? What kind of experience, what kind of number of beneficiaries, number of cost to this project. Now, once we have the data, it allows us to take decisions in a much better way and provides a logical, neutral solution. So, white hat will always think about logical solutions. That because we had these kind of past background history, it should lead to this is a logic, right? And when you are wearing a white hat, what kind of questions you can ask to yourself, leading towards we getting the best of the solutions. Now, this question will help us, that it will help us to think exactly the way we want a white hat thinking, white hat person to think. The questions are, what do I know about this problem? What don't I know about this problem? How will I go about acquiring the facts, stats, and data? And based on the available info, what potential solutions exist? So here is thinking more logic, allowing us to look at various data which will give us a solution. Next, what we have is a red thinking hat. And let me wear a red hat. Okay. Now, red hat is a person who looks at problems using intuition, gut feeling, and emotion. So here's a person which we can say who thinks they'll say, who's always thinks from the heart. And for that person, any solution comes from the intuition, from the gut feeling, and is also very, very emotional and thinks in keeping the emotion as a priority, accounts for others' emotion. Now, for this person, it's very important that they become more empathetically, look at others' objectives, other emotions, and follows one instinct, that what do I feel? Think about a typical woman which goes to a sari store, have made up his mind logically before going that, hey, I'm going to buy a green color sari and which will cost around 2,000 rupees. Now she goes in the inside a store and finds a sari which she feels, oh, it was amazing. It was costing 4,000 rupees, red color. She bought it. Now that's a gut feeling. That's intuition, where she felt, hey, I must own this. And here, a red thinking hat always decides from their emotions, from their gut feeling. When you want to think like a red thinking hat, what questions you can ask to yourself? What is my gut telling me about this solution? It's all about my inner gut. What are my feelings telling me about the choice I will make? Based on my feelings, is there a better way to go about this? Based on my feeling, can I think more? Can I think better ways? Intuitively, is this the right solution to this problem? So here, the whole focus is on intuition. Why red color? Because red color is very close to heart. And here is a person who always thinks from heart. So you need to think any solution keeping your heart at the focus, keeping your gut feeling, keep your intuition at focus when you are wearing a red hat and thinking. Great. So next we have, in this cap, an activity. So now I'm going to give this activity that can you think of a decision you made which went right because you listened to your instinct. Now think about any incident where you felt that, hey, I must do this. And you listen to instinct. You listen to your inner self and you made that decision. The reason I want you to think like this is primarily this will give you experience that when you are wearing a red hat, how you will think, the way in which you will make yourself comfortable in looking at your listening to your heart and intuitively giving that decision. Having understood this, let's move further. And now let's think about a black hat. And let me wear a black hat. Wow, superb. Now, the person who is wearing a black hat will think proactively, identifies the risk, pitfalls, dangers, and flaws. So, this person is primarily a very critical person who will always find issues and pitfalls and risks and dangers in the solution, what others are thinking, looks at situation cautiously and defensively. So this guy will always come up with very, very critical ways of looking at things. This guy will always come up with that, hey, we should not take this risk. And always be very defensive, making everyone feel that whatever we are doing is not good. Highlights the weak points in a plan. Now, this is very, very important because when we sometimes become so enthusiastically feeling that, hey, let me go and do this, the black hat thinker will allow you to think that one of the weak points, if we take this decision, allows you to prepare contingency plans because when you have realized the weak points, it will help you to decide what could be my contingency plan, what I can be more prepared of when I am taking this decision. So the role of black thinking hat is primarily to find out faults, primarily to find out areas where we can falter, areas we can fail, and prepare ourselves for those particular contingencies. Now let's move towards yellow thinking cat. And let me wear this yellow thinking cat with great amount of positivity and charm. You know why? Because the yellow thinking cat is like a sunshine. It provides a solution in a realistic and opportunistic way. So a person who is wearing a yellow thinking cat will always be extremely positive. He will never ever be able to see any pitfalls, any negativity the way a black hat will think. So here, solution more realistic and opportunistic way, and most importantly, helps you to see all the benefits and values of a decision. So when you think like a yellow thinking hat, it allows you to think about when we take a decision, how it will benefit me in a great way. Now, how can you make this thinking much more clearer by asking this question to yourself? How can I best approach this problem? How can I logically and realistically make this work? What optimistic outcomes could result from this action? So here the focus is on optimistic outcome. And what are the long-term benefits of this action? A yellow thinking hat will always look at long-term positive impact and never short-term, never critical. Having understood this, let's do a small activity. The activity is think of at least two positive changes that have happened or are happening in your life due to self isolation in this pandemic. All of us feel that it was a tough time. It was a time where all of us were staying home, we were like self isolated. But can you think about two positive changes that have happened or are happening in your life today, currently, because of pandemic? I'm sure there are so many. A yellow thinking hat is always positive. And now, through this activity, I'm also making you feel more positive even in the pandemic. So let's move on. Next is the green thinking hat. Let me wear my green thinking hat because this is a hat or a cap which always thinks outside the box. A creative hat, A hat which will always allow you to think beyond imagination, provides creative ideas and solutions. So this hat will always break rules. They always go beyond imagination and never worry about rules. They will break rules, they will bend rules to get you to the solution in a much more creative way. Isn't constrained by conventional rules and practices. It will always think something extraordinary out of the box. Okay. And let me take you back the puzzle mania, what we have thought initially, that here is a 9 dots and you only have 4 lines and you are expected to join these 4 lines. You are expected to join all these 9 dots with the 4 lines. And here is an out of the box solution. If you could achieve it, brilliant. If you are not able to, here is the time for me to give you solution. Here the first line which connects these 3 dots. And moving further, the 2 dots are now intersected. Moving further, 3 more, and the last in the fourth line. And see, with the help of just 4 lines, we were able to intersect all the 9 dots. But what we have done, the square was like a box or a constraint. We thought out of the box, and then we moved out and came in, and again we were able to reach out to an appropriate solution of intersecting 9 dots with just 4 lines. There were no rules that you can't go beyond the square, but sometimes when we see the square, it allows us to remain inside, as good as does not allow us to move out of our comfort zone, because we have made our own boundary. Now, a green cap allows you to break those boundaries and go beyond and achieve your objective, or achieve or take a decision in a much more creative way. Last we have is a blue thinking hat. And let me wear my blue thinking hat for the feeling which I'm going to create through this. Now, a person who is wearing a blue thinking hat poses questions that help stimulate the thinking process. So probably blue person who's wearing a blue hat may not come up with a solution, but it will pose questions to other 5 people and stimulate a thinking process. Sets an agenda by outlining rules for discussion. So he's primarily an anchor or a moderator or a leader who is creating systems so that, or outline rules so that the discussion happen in that particular focused way. Collates all the ideas forwarded by other thinking heads. So it collates all the ideas and ensures that every piece of information is not lost and able to connect all the dots. Now here, if I have to give you a small activity, that who wasn't directions, man, thanks, lost, the gave me I. Now what is the meaning of this? A person who is a blue thinking hat will find and solve this. Now, do you see any sentence in this? Yes, it is. And the sentence is, I wasn't lost, thanks to the man who gave me directions. Now, these words are jumbled up, but when you have those jumbled up thoughts, blue thinking hat will allow you to organize your thoughts in a much better way. Having understood this, for you to become blue thinking hat more better in a great way, few questions you can ask to yourself. What problems am I facing? How can I best define this problem? What is my best goal? What is my goal and outcome? What do I seek to achieve? What is the most effective method of proceeding from this position? How can I best organize and arrange my thinking? So here, if you look at all the questions, they're actually helping you to clarify your thoughts. It is helping you to create a process which will lead towards finding a better solution, and also ensuring that every one of us are combined and our ideas are collated in a great way. Okay, having understood this, let's move on to understand the sequence. Here, I would like to give you a sequence that if you have to think with different perspective on the same issue or the same decision or the same solution, first start with white, facts, numbers, data, then move towards red, which is primarily emotions, which is primarily your gut feeling. Then move towards black, which is more critical, which will help you to find pitfalls. Then move towards yellow, which is sunshine, which is primarily for you to think long term and positive way. Then the green one, which will help you to think out of the box with the same perspective but different kind of solutions. And in the end, blue, which will help you to moderate, which will help you to collaborate, which will help you to join the dots, all these ideas which has come up from this different thinking style. And here is the way I'm going to tell you the way in which you will organize this. So when you want to do take a decision, and if are six people, that every one of us wear one color hat and start behaving the way I have mentioned each of the hat. So someone who is white will always think about data. Someone who is green will go out of the box and start giving that kind of solution. So when every one of us are thinking on one thing but different perspectives. Here, after everyone is given that perspective with that particular hat, pick up your hat and give it to the person on your right, and you take the new hat from the left. So if you were thinking emotionally or intuitively before, now you, because you had a red hat, now you got a black hat, you will think the same thing more critically with what could be pitfalls. What we are doing, we are allowing each one of us to think the same thing with different perspective. And when you have this different perspective, it enables you to take decision in a much better way. If you're all alone in taking a decision, what you can do, don't, most of the time, we have so many ideas, so many different perspective, it becomes entire jumble up in our mind. This process will help you to declutter your mind. So first wear one hat, think with that perspective, then remove that, take a second hat and only think with that perspective. Now what we're doing? We're doing parallel thinking. When I'm wearing a red hat, I'm only thinking emotionally, intuitively. When I'm wearing a yellow hat, I'm been very progressive, very positive. The moment I think I wear a black hat, I think with critical evaluation. Likewise, when I have different hats, it allows me to look at the same thing with different perspective and take my decision in a much better and much clearer way. Here are the glimpses of the whole of the six hats. Again, coming back to the session objective, what is creative decision making that we have realized, we have understood, debunking the myths associated with creativity, and we also understood the six thinking hats, how it will help us to take an appropriate decision. The knowledge takeaways, what we can take from this is creative thinking hats are not related to personality types. Every hat have a different thinking style and we must adopt to it for a better understanding of each style. The six thinking hats help to consider problems and decisions systematically. Decision making requires you to look at things from different perspective. If we think only with one perspective, which is generally our true nature, will always have a one directional answer. But we'll not be able to have a multiple perspective, which will give us the whole of the holistic approach to lead toward taking an appropriate decision. Few action takeaways. Note down perspectives using different thinking heads when you encounter a problem or before you start a project. So every thinking head, when you note down and then collate, it will give you a lot of good debriefing of the whole thing. And listen to others' perspective. So when you listen to others' perspective, it will broaden your perspective and motivate others to use different thinking heads. So when every one of them are thinking with different perspective, it will immensely help you to reach out to the best solution. Every problem contains within itself the seeds of its own solution. At this point in time, I would really want to thank you and share my deep gratitude towards giving me this opportunity and listening to my session very peacefully. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Namaskar.